The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? Buckle your emotional seatbelt. Amber and Scott are taking us through grief, betrayal and first love without the breaks after watching Regretting You. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
It's nice to see a situation where anger is actually a healing emotion.
Yeah, there was some anger to be had, and rightfully so. Alrighty. Folks, in this episode, we are talking about Regretting You. It introduces audiences to Morgan Grant and her daughter Clara as they explore what is left behind after a devastating accident reveals a shocking betrayal and forces them to confront family secrets, redefine love, and rediscover each other.
Yeah, that's the movie. Yeah, that's about right.
That's great, Scott. So, in short, we have two sisters, and the movie starts with them in high school, and they both have boyfriends. And at 17, Morgan finds out she's pregnant with Chris's baby. So they get married, they have the baby, and flash forward 17 years. And although her sister and her sister's boyfriend broke up, like they dated for a month during high school, and then they broke up and he left town, he came back for basically a one-nighter, impregnated her, the sister. So she had a baby, and then they're like, okay, well, I guess we're together now.
Yeah. I mean, was it a one-nighter?
Yeah.
I know they made it sound like he hadn't been back a long time.
They got together one night. I mean, they saw each other again after that, but I think it was mostly because of the baby.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know. She died, so.
Well, okay, you just jumped ahead, so do you want to fill that in?
They died.
That is not super helpful. So they are now this reunited foursome as they were in high school, having a good time, all working together to now raise this baby. And there is an accident, and we find out that Chris, who is Morgan's husband, and Morgan's sister have been killed in an accident. And at first we think they're separate accidents because both significant others go to the hospital, but it turns out they were together. And not only were they together...
They were together.
Yeah, Chris was driving the sister's car, and Jenny, and that kind of seemed peculiar. Fast forward, the details is they had been having an affair. They actually were out in the car after having been shacking up at a hotel where they hadn't checked out yet. And now Morgan is left with mourning her husband and mourning her sister, but also facing the realization that they had been cheating on her for who knows how long over the 17 years.
So here's what I know. I know Morgan knows how to use Find My on an Apple phone.
Yeah.
Because she used it a few times.
To track down her daughter.
She never used that one on her husband?
Well, do you really want to be in a relationship where you don't trust the person? You have to track them down all the time? I mean,
it's not necessarily tracking down. I use Find My on you all the time.
I know, and I don't particularly enjoy that, and I don't have anything to hide. But they had been together for... that's great. So, I mean, after 17 years of marriage, basically getting together when you're 17 and having a 17-year-old daughter, I mean, they seemed reasonably happy for people who had been in each other's presence for 17 years. It's not like there was grumbling and crankiness. They seemed like a reasonably happy couple. So why would you be, if someone says, I have to work late because I have a meeting, if you don't trust that person, why would you check their location?
I mean, I guess you don't, I wouldn't be checking it every night, but I mean, it sounds like this had been something that had been going on for a while. So you would think at some point something might have come up where they're like, I wonder where this meeting's happening or whatever.
You sound like a busybody. I like to think of you as Mrs. Kravitz. That's a dated reference for the youngsters. That's a reference to Bewitched.
Yes, baby, Bewitched.
Okay, so there are a lot of what would you do's in here because ultimately we find that, what was his name? Jonah, who is the baby daddy to Jenny's baby, actually had a crush on Morgan when they were in high school. And that's why he left town, is because he realized that Morgan and Chris were going to have this baby and he loved Morgan. So he left town and he was been gone all the way up until the time that he managed to reconnect with Jenny and knock her up.
Mind you, we're using information you gain at the end of the film earlier. Like, we don't know why he left for most of the film until the end. He's like, I left because I loved you and I couldn't not be around you, or couldn't be around you and not, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so we have a lot of what would you do in here, a lot, because we also have a sub-story with Morgan and Chris's daughter, Clara, who's going through her own little teenage angst romance. So first things first, what would you do if you're 17 years old and you are knocked up with Morgan, or you're Chris and you have knocked up Morgan? And I say that knocked up because I don't think at 17 years old in high school anyone is planning that baby.
I mean, it's clear from how they were at the party that she wasn't particularly thrilled about the relationship.
Well, Morgan and Jonah were more conservative, and Jenny and Chris were more of the, let's get another drink and, party on, dude.
Yeah, extroverts and introverts,
and
for sure.
They pretty much chalked that up to, opposites attract, which is a whole other conversation. But back to the question at hand. You're 17 years old. You're either knocked up or knocked someone else. What do you do?
Abortion.
Okay.
I mean, that's easy for me to say as a guy.
Yeah, it is. That's obviously a much more complicated conversation as a girl. I mean, and you have to think about when you have that situation when you are a teenager and you're in school, and a decision like that that's going to change the rest of your life. And it definitely did with Morgan, because at that point her life was, she's a wife and she's a mom, and she put her interest to the side, which we touch on very briefly in the film, of she doesn't have a passion, she doesn't have a purpose, she is a mom and a wife.
Yeah, that's not a good life. Like, listen, I get it. I get that when you have to be in that role, you have to put a lot of yourself into that role, but you can't put everything into that role, because it's eventually going to leave you empty.
And it's something that a lot of people do. They default to, anything for my child. And on one hand, that makes perfect sense. But you can't sacrifice your own identity, because what kind of example is that to your child, especially if you're a mom and a daughter? What are you showing your daughter? That sacrifice is admirable, that pushing your own needs and wants aside is how things are done. And that's not how you find your happiness. You need to find your happiness to bring it back home to your family and bring it to your daughter.
Yeah, definitely. And it hits the nail right on the head there. You can't give up everything. You need to maintain something in there. Even if it's not a huge part, like, you need something else that helps to define who you are.
Yeah. I mean, whether it's you really love knitting and you knit every night, or there's a hobby and you are part of a garden club, you have to find something for yourself.
Like, a lot of people are like, I don't have any time. I don't have time for anything else. You could. You can find something. You can always find something. People are bad with time. Even the people who are like, I have things all the time. People are bad with time. If you want something enough, you'll make time for it.
You have to make yourself a priority. And that is something that people struggle with, especially women, is we put ourselves at the end of the priority list because we're helping the kids, we're helping the school, we're helping the spouse, we're helping at work, and there's nothing left for us.
And let's also not pretend like she was a single parent. She wasn't a single parent for the first nearly 17 years of the child's life.
Yeah, until Chris.
I mean, it sounds like she was the home person, he was the work person, but that's there. While that can feel like being a single parent sometimes, it's still not completely. There is a difference between you
Being truly alone.
you almost never help versus I have no one here to help.
Yeah, it's the difference of not having anyone, as you said, but also tapping into the resource you do have. And okay, yeah, you might have a spouse who works a lot. You might have a spouse that has other limitations, but you have to ask for help. You can't be upset that no one helps you, because you also have to advocate for yourself, saying, I need some help.
Yeah, and don't expect other people to just step up.
Oh, no, they got their own things.
The only time people are going to truly step up, which is funny, but after the car accident and they died, then apparently Tupperware was building up on their front porch with food. People will step up when somebody dies, somebody really close dies, and they'll bring you food for like a week-ish. Outside of that, advocate for yourself. Like you really have to. So
It's true. It's a conversation I have with people all the time where people say, someone violated my boundaries. I'm like, that's not how it works. It's up for you to maintain your boundaries. But there was no boundaries here. So let's get back to the film. So now Morgan has the secret information that she wants to protect her daughter from. She doesn't want her daughter to think ill of her dad or her favorite aunt, only aunt. And she's holding all this in. Also, she's also living in Chris's home, her husband, who has died, his childhood home. So she's been living in this home that reflects his tastes and his interests and his little marks on the wall from when he was 5 years old and his parents measured his height. And that's another example of how she is not advocating for herself, that she hasn't stepped into herself, that she's literally living in this home that she doesn't particularly like and hasn't made a, kitchen remodel, a demand somewhere in 17 years. And she's just really unhappy with where she lives.
yeah, that's an interesting one right there, because sometimes you're the person who's stepping in and you're not necessarily thrilled with everything. Like spilling some tea here on the episode, like, even though we moved into a place together, it's very much dominated with a lot of your possessions because you just have more possessions than I did.
Yeah, you don't really have decorations.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot, so
or furniture. Most
of the things that are in there are yours. And sometimes you just it's kind of like I always say, sometimes you have to pick and choose your battles. Like, the way you have the house is not the way I would set it up, but like, it's not something that's like so bad that I'm willing to say something or cause a fuss over it. It's just, it's fine. It's fine as is. And I'm okay with that dynamic. And it sounds like she was as well.
Well, and I think it's a whole other level when you're talking about someone's childhood home, because then you're talking about, this was my room as a kid, and this is where my mommy measured me. Like, that's a whole other level of connection, is moving into someone's home. Or, which I've also seen happen, is someone move into a home that they lived in with their prior spouse. And it was decorated to their prior spouse's taste or stuff that they got together as a couple, and then you're moving in that. And that's something else I've seen, which is, I think, on the same kind of footing as the childhood house.
Yeah, you got to move out of that house. Seriously, I'm serious. Like if that was like, especially now, if it was like someone you were married to for like, I don't know, you were together for 9 months a year, you were married for 6 months and they broke up. Okay, fine, whatever. It also depends a little bit on whether or not you had the house prior to the marriage. If you had the house prior to the marriage, then...
Oh, that's what I'm saying, is it was the house you had with your prior spouse.
Well, no. Prior to your prior spouse's marriage.
Oh, like a house you had, and then you just keep moving in spouse after spouse?
Basically, yeah. Just like a freaking conveyor belt. No, like if it predated your ex, then I think it's fine. You've just got to be...
It's not great, though, because you're moving into a house where that person has memories of, like, intimate moments, personal moments, joyful moments, sorrowful moments in that house.
That's what I said. Like, if it's something you got together, I don't know, 9 months or a year, got married, and you were together for like 6 months. Like there's history, but there's not that much history.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of months is different. I'm
if
thinking of
if you've been
marriages.
together for 15 years, GTFO, get out. Like, I mean, again, the only exception to that would be a childhood home, where it's just way predates the ex, and then you just kind of have the right to be like, yeah, I was here way before she was, so yes, I have some memories with her, but I also have a lot of memories with my family and everything else. So, but yeah, if it's just a house that you live in and you live, like, for example, when I was married, like we moved into places together, and if I had been in one of them when we got divorced, I would have gotten the hell out of there.
And then in addition to the story with Morgan and Jonah and Chris and Jenny, which are our 4 adult characters, we have a sub-story with Clara and, what is that?
Miller.
Miller, yes. A young love, had a crush, admired from afar, and it's an interesting storyline in the fact that the mom hates Miller, but everything she dislikes about Miller is something her daughter did. And she doesn't know that. Like, the only reason Miller's in Clara's bedroom is because Clara said, come over. The only reason Clara got high in Miller's presence, Miller didn't give her the pot. Clara said, I want to get high. So, that kind of blindness with who your daughter is and blaming someone else because you don't know those things.
Yeah, also kind of screw Chris for...
The husband, yeah.
Yeah, for saying you're not going to date someone whose dad was a criminal.
Yeah, Miller's dad was incarcerated when Miller was young, so he's a bad seed, according to Chris.
Like, anytime
and
I see something like that, I'm like, would I want to be judged based on what my dad is? No.
Yeah, that apple doesn't fall far from the tree thing is very limited. Sometimes that's true and you can see it, but sometimes someone is a good kid, and you got to be careful about just judging things that you have very limited to no information on.
Yeah, if you want to positively judge someone, like, their parents and they're great and like, oh, so this is probably a good kid. Like, I'm okay with that, even if the kid's a freaking living terror and you don't know it. I mean, it's okay to get a worse opinion of someone, but if you start with that bad opinion, it's really hard to grow out of it. So,
another what would you do in the film is, as Morgan is redecorating the house, trying to claim the house as her own, and she's helping, Jonah is helping her take down some cabinetry. In the toolbox, they find some letters that Morgan's sister, Jenny, wrote to Morgan's husband, Chris. And there's not one or two. There's a whole stack of colorful envelopes.
Listen.
What would you do? Would you read those?
Well, first of all, I don't know exactly the dynamic between Chris and Morgan and their relationship. Like, is she so unhandy that she would just never touch a toolbox? That seems like a terrible hiding spot. Like, occasionally, even if you're not handy, you're like, oh, I need a screwdriver for something, or I need something, a hammer for a nail, or...
I mean, there is a big pile of letters there, so he obviously accumulated them, and she didn't touch the toolbox. Again, assuming these are real people in real situations, and not a movie.
I would probably...
Okay, so what would you do is you would hide your love letters somewhere
I would
better.
hide them better.
Where would you hide them?
Like, I'm going to tell you.
Where would you hide them? What would you do? Where would you hide them?
I wouldn't have love letters from somebody else to begin with, baby. I love you, baby.
Yes, because you are a smart person, and you would take them, a photo of them, and then you would burn the physical copy, and then you'd upload the photo to some password protective drive that nobody else had access to.
Alexa, remind me to watch this podcast episode back and get the ideas that Amber just gave me.
Okay. Would you read the letters? Because keep in mind, too, at this point, we know that Jonah and Jenny were going to get married. So even though they weren't, they do have this child together. And we still don't really get a 100% certain answer at this point. If Jonah's even the dad of that baby, because now we realize Chris and Jenny were getting it on.
Yeah, let me note that I'm not using a smile as a DNA test.
Yeah, Jonah said the baby smiled at him and it looked like Chris's smile and left the baby with Morgan for a couple of days.
Yeah, how can you tell a baby has someone's smile?
Well, you can.
You can?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, yeah, parents definitely can see, oh, you have mom's eyes or dad's smile. That's a thing. That can't be a thing. But
not when they're that young.
What would you do? I don't know. If both of your significant others were fooling around and there was any doubt, get a DNA test.
Yeah, there's an actual paternity test.
Like, you don't need to wonder, and I'm not saying that that's reason for Jonah to dump the baby, because the baby was very adorable. But fine. Get the facts. Ignorance isn't bliss. And because Jonah also mentions that, hey, your daughter, Clara, could have a half brother here. Yeah, and that's important to know.
That's relevant. So you asked, would I read the letters? Yes, I would. But primarily as a fact-finding mission. Like, I want to know how long this was going on for. See if there's, like, details, maybe things from the past things that get answered.
You're already upset that your husband was not only cheating, but he was cheating with your sister. And you're not only mad that your sister was cheating with your husband, but, like, they had a solid, loving, wonderful relationship as well. So how much more can you get hurt by reading the letters? You're already pretty darn devastated.
Yeah. So I get the concept of wanting to hide things from someone when details come up later about somebody's life after they're dead. I once dated a girl who was widowed. Her husband at 32 died of colon cancer. And there was still a lot of stuff around there. Like, he was kind of a tech guy. You could tell, like, there were drives and like various tech things to go through. And I was trying to figure out, like, what here is actually good that she can use. And long story short is I stumbled across a drive that was 100% pornography. Like, dude had a collection. And I also found some men's personal pleasure devices. What good does it do for me to tell her that I found this? What? If I make her mad at him, she'll love me more?
I don't know.
No.
I would not want to be in that situation.
I think in general, you just sweep that stuff up under the rug, because then all that's going to do is massively complicate emotions over a dead person. And it's, even if you think it's going to do you good, it's not.
Yeah, that's not something you divulge for personal advancement. It is a very ethically hazy area because, oh gosh, I would not want to be in that situation.
I actually don't think it's ethically hazy. I think it is a no-brainer to hide it, because the only thing you're going to get is hurting someone. The other person's dead. All you're going to do is make them feel like crap for not knowing about this, or that their marriage was not as happy as they thought it was. Or
see, and that's where I get conflicted. And if it were me, I would want to know. If I was the grieving spouse in that situation, I actually would want to know, because if I had a vision of how things were and I thought this is the life we were leading, and then I'm completely oblivious and stupid and unaware of everything, and then someone gave me something like that. Like, for example, suppose my husband never wanted to touch me, And it was like, well, gee, maybe that explains it because he's watching porn all the time and he's, getting off on his own or has unreal expectations of body image or whatever the thing is. And then maybe in getting that information, I stop blaming myself. So I personally am someone who likes information because it helps me fill in the gaps and give context to things.
This is a whole like big picture thing you've got to look at. Like in this case, she believed, and maybe it was, and there's just a weird dynamic, but she was like, this is a storybook marriage. Like you could tell she was 100% like, this is storybook, fantasy, fairy tale, amazing. So either she was lying about that, which I see no reason why you would start telling the new person you're dating how wonderful your past relationship was, unless it was actually true.
Well, I don't know. That could absolutely be a manipulation thing to be like, okay, raise the bar, buddy. You have a lot to compete with.
Like maybe
I'm not saying that's the situation, but there could be a reason someone would say that.
Maybe you could tell them later, like much later. Like I'm talking like several years.
Maybe
later. And sometimes it's just, you know what? I'm all about information and knowing stuff, but even I recognize sometimes there's just things it's best not to know.
So back to the film.
Like even sorry. Mm-hmm. Like when I went to Houston back in December for my friend's funeral. I don't know if I mentioned this, but he died unexpectedly. We were going through his computer trying to find passwords, something so that she could have access to knowing what the hell was going on, because she was not involved in the household bills or whatever. And I'm able to get into the computer where they had not been able to, and we're clicking around looking for stuff, and we clicked into a folder that had things that his wife probably should not have seen. And as soon as I saw it, that was the quickest back arrow I've ever hit in my life. But like she wasn't dumb, and she was looking at the screen, so she saw it. And I just, that doesn't do her any good. All she got angry. She's got really angry, and I think anger,
which is valid.
Oh yes, it is valid, but it complicates things when you're dealing with grief and anger at the same time. But
it can, but pornography literally destroys relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing healthy comes from a spouse who is consuming a massive amount of pornography.
Yeah, I mean, and his wasn't even that much, but I'm just saying, concealing sometimes is the right thing to do.
So, back to the film. So, we have Jonah and Morgan who are grieving and navigating this process. And in doing so, Jonah basically says, I've loved you since I've met you. Discloses he left town because he was in love with her. And I still feel these feelings. And although Morgan initially resists, she goes and looks at past photos and videos and realizes that in all of them, Jonah is looking at her.
Yeah.
Like just looking at her, like seeing her.
Man, that's a hard thing. Regret is a really, really hard emotion to deal with. I've actually found regret to be one of the hardest emotions ever to deal with. Because when you have regret, you have a lot of the what might have been type FOMO, and it's rough, especially, and regret in love is way worse.
It is, but here's the thing, is most mothers will tell you that they would go back and they would do the bad relationship again because it means they got the kid that they love.
Yes. When there's children involved, that completely changes the calculus. And yeah, like even my mom, who was not thrilled with my dad, and still to this day, it's not as bad as when they got divorced, but I mean, still to this day, not, thrilled. Even she's like, yeah, if it hadn't been for him, though, I wouldn't have y'all, so worth it.
Yeah, same for my mom. I think that's just a common mom vibe is.
Oh yeah, and I know my dad, not the greatest dad in the world, but he looks like father of the year compared to yours.
Okay. Boy,
So-
you were like Mary Poppins of this episode. So much tea spilling. So much tea
Well, I
spilling.
mean, it's not like we haven't said before that our
oh, no.
our dad,
I'm just saying that like that's the fifth thing.
well, yeah. I mean, but it strengthens even more. Like I know how your mom felt about your dad, and it was about as pure a form of hatred as you can imagine. But for her to still be like, wouldn't do it over because I have you. That just goes to show how strong
Would do it over,
that.
not
yeah,
wouldn't.
Yeah, I would do it over.
Yeah.
Because I got you out of it.
Yeah. Well, I'm
yeah.
pretty amazing. I mean, let's face it. So our last what would you do, unless you have something else here, is after this declaration of love and this acceptance and all of this thinking between the conversation between Jonah and Morgan, they share a kiss. After an appropriate amount of time has passed since everyone's died, and they realize that they really should have been the ones who were together, and the daughter Clara walks in and catches them. What would you do if you were Morgan in that situation, having to explain to your child what was happening and also trying to protect their memory of their father and the aunt that they just adored?
I'm fine with the fact that they kissed, but God, y'all gotta be smarter about this. Like, if my daughter's not home, I'm literally saying, let me check my phone, see where my daughter is.
Well, it wasn't a planned kiss. They were just going to talk. And
Even
then-
still, like, you've got to be hyper aware in that situation, or just make sure that you have a device that will notify you whenever a loved one is on their way home.
Yeah, not everyone uses automation as skillfully as you do.
Yeah, well, maybe they should.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.